in order to come up with a very well-tailored policy for Southern Sudan. That has been done, so we have that policy brief, and maybe time permitting one moment, later on in another forum, I'll be able to share that. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank Professor Omanga for his presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this presentation, but now the floor is open. We will take about 10 or so minutes, question and answers, and then we can wind up for the next session. So the floor is open. The 4 speakers are here, ready for your interventions. Thank you.
Speakers have talked about interactions between the tertiary sector, the tertiary education sector and industry. And there are certainly a lot of models that can be used for those interactions. One of the issues that industry often faces is that to take in students and trainees is a burden on their business. It's an economic burden, and they like to get some return for that. So I know we have that issue in Australia, that short-term placements of university students in various businesses are not, even though the industries appreciate that and the value of that to the students, they don't necessarily get the benefit of that and prefer longer-term placements. So I'm just wondering if members of the panel can comment on the attitudes of industry in various African countries in relation to taking on students.
Any other intervention from the panel? Well, I think they can start with that.
I think for in the case of South Africa, in the case of SASO, the policy is that industry feels the need to capacitate its research and development efforts. So actually we provide bursaries for students right from undergraduate, in some cases to PhD level, and even postdocs, because we know that we have to replenish the stock, so to speak. And as we expand global, there's a need for us to execute complex projects, and that will only happen if we have students. So in some cases, we have students who are bound by contracts. When they finish their studies, they come and work for SASO. In some cases, we get students who are not necessarily sponsored by SASO, but wherever there's a strategic need for us, especially if we expand out of our borders, to get students exposed. In the case of our footprint in Mozambique, we do a lot of training for students in Mozambique and our universities, sponsored by SASO. We believe that they put the capacity which is needed in their home countries.
In Nigeria, it is an issue of responsibility of the companies and industries to take up students for industrial training. And then we have the ITF, Industrial Training Fund, that helps to give some form of financial support to the students. And it is not always mandatory for the industry to pay the students. Sometimes from universities you have about 6 months, and it's a curriculum thing. It's enshrined in the curriculum of the different universities and little programs that the students must have this industrial experience. And so the law of the land has it that if any organization does not do that, and then it comes to the knowledge of the government, some actions can be taken against the organization. And so they have to do it for the sake of development of the students and for the development of the country.
I cannot comment from the African standpoint, but I can definitely share what we experience in North America. It's not always easy for students in co-op programs But very often, the university helps finding it by interacting with industries, and many academic professors are actually involved with industry, so that they definitely facilitate it. From what I know, often it ends up being a win-win situation, whereas actually industry, they end up hiring the students that they train during their co-op years. And so they're exposed to the culture of the organization, the knowledge, and the training is offered by employers sooner or later. So I think there is a winning formula, but definitely it's a shared problem, and it's not always easy.
I can make a quick comment in reference to my university, University of Nairobi, and specifically the School of Computing and Informatics, where students' participation in terms of gaining skills before they go out to the industry is a requirement. It's part of the curriculum at second year level. They have to go to the industry, and there is a report which must be produced, and we mark it and give a student a mark. It actually constitutes about a quarter of a unit in the semester.
Thank you very much. The matter of industrial attachment, I think, is something that we all grapple with. And at times, in some situations, students may look at such activities as a holiday job. But then when we factor in an assessment and credit on that attachment in terms of the reporting, and like in my own university, during the industrial attachment, the student should have identified his final year project, and then co-supervision would be implemented. So the student would then see that attachment as something that is part of the curriculum, as has been